I'll remind everybody that we're
Yeah.
visiting with.
And-
We're visiting with
And
we're visiting with City Manager Jesus Garza.
And just one more thing, we just proposed the fiscal year 27 budget, which included a reduction of the tax rate by 2.5 cents. And so we're very excited that we're at a point financially where we can do that. And in spite of that, we're continuing to invest in public safety, in our employees, and all the things that are of relevance and that matter to the public. Streets came up, for example, and so we have about a $62 million CIP for next year. The utilities for North Street are finally on the schedule. That's the first step for the reconstruction of North Street in front of Patty Welder, and so we're very excited that that's finally coming. And so we're just very excited about just the continued investment in our infrastructure and a variety of different projects. But that, just real quick, that reduction in the property tax rate, I think shows a couple of things. One, a big part of that is because we have finished paying off debt early. At the direction of council, we've been very aggressive at lowering the amount of debt that we have out there and paying it off as soon as possible. And so, as you know, the tax rate has two sides to it, the M&O and then the INS.
Yes, sir.
And so the INS rate is coming down on its own by almost 2 cents. And so we're just very excited that we're seeing now the success and the benefits of paying off that debt sooner and not just immediately charging that credit card back up. Second, we are in the middle of implementing a stormwater utility that does come with a fee. And so we were very intentional with wanting to prioritize the implementation of that, because drainage is one of those issues that people really only think about when it rains.
Right.
But it's also a challenge for us. And you talk about the South Side. The South Side has a lot of areas that are in the floodplain or that just aren't, the topography doesn't lend itself for proper drainage.
It's flat.
Correct. And so if we really want to also focus on developing the South Side, we need to start investing more money in drainage infrastructure. And so that's our priority moving forward.
How much pushback are you getting on the $5 per household fee and the concept of it? I've had everything said to me from, do we get to vote on that, to what, don't we already pay for that? I mean, how did that come about? Where else have you seen that implemented? And,
Sure.
And
so,
what will it really do for you?
So at the end of the day, cities in general aren't structured to generate revenue for drainage-centric needs, because usually the cities focus on streets, right? Or the cities that run their utilities, they focus on the water and the sewer pipes. And so it's a very common utility to have one focused on drainage. And so, for example, we established one in Kingsville when I was there, and there's dozens of cities across the state that have one. And so it's just a common best practice. Sometimes I hate to use that term, but in this particular case, it's certainly a best practice to have a utility solely focused on drainage. What that allows us to do is that it allows us to take the money that it generates, which we estimated to be about $2.5 million, and legally we can only invest it into drainage. And so that is the biggest benefit of establishing this utility, because in the absence of it, these drainage projects are competing with,
they get put on the back
right,
burner.
correct. They're competing with streets. They're competing with North Street. They're competing with a new fire station, right? They're competing with a bunch of different things.
Well, and they're more reactive, right, instead of proactive.
And so establishing it basically sends the message that drainage is important to us. We recognize that it's so important that we want to establish a dedicated funding source for it that legally requires us to only spend that money on drainage.
Will it require new crews, or will you just redirect existing crews? Will it create jobs, or will it just assure jobs?
So for now, we have a street within our public works department. We have a street and stormwater division, and so for now, it'll help. We will have a dedicated crew focused on drainage, but from existing personnel.
Okay, perfect. And I'm not getting much pushback on it over here. I like the idea that Jonathan Williams says, and we'll need to hire an assistant city manager of drainage.
Yeah, maybe. You're welcome to apply.
Right, Jonathan, give him a call. Yeah. No, but I like the idea of that money being only earmarked for drainage projects. And I don't think you can overemphasize that it gives you the opportunity, instead of going, hey, we've got a little extra money, we've been wanting to do this with drainage. Now you've got it earmarked. It's legally committed to that task. And I mean, I think it allows you to be proactive, right? We could have a system of going around cleaning out the
hopefully,
drains.
correct. Yeah, absolutely. And, and all you have to do too, to kind of observe that we have this need is just drive around and pay attention to the concrete ditches that we have, right? I mean, look at the concrete ditch in front of the mall. That's a perfect example, right? I mean, at some point that whole ditch is going to have to be replaced. I mean, we can't just ignore this infrastructure. And it has some areas that are failing pretty significantly. And so it's helpful to have a dedicated funding source to be able to address these needs when they come up without it taking money away from streets,
right,
public safety, everything else. And that was the direction that council provided us, which eventually led to the recommendation of the establishment of the program. And that's now become our focus for next year.
You happy with your council right now? I think there's going to be some turnover. I know Dwayne Crocker is doing a good job as mayor.
Council's great. And, we have a lot of stability with council. And as a matter of fact, part of that was one of the biggest reasons why June came to Victoria. There's unfortunately a lot of communities that have not so stable city councils. And it's
Beaumont might have been one of them.
And it's certainly, it's a good thing that ours is very stable, very experienced. And one of the things that I personally enjoy the most is that council truly approaches every decision as a holistic decision for the city. We don't really deal with a lot of geopolitics in Victoria. And from my understanding, they never have.
Right.
But in a lot of cities, you deal with geopolitics where there's that infighting of, well, I want that new park, or I want that money only in my district, right? And then somebody else is fighting for their district. And so in our particular case, even though they're elected by district, for the most part, they truly have conversations, discussions, and make decisions as if they were representing the entire city. And that makes it very, very helpful.
We've had a long relationship that you helped facilitate with Christy Euchre. And we've enjoyed watching Christy. We joke about it, but when she first came on the show years ago, she was somewhat timid and a little concerned. And now she's just an old pro and she's a great communicator. But, I benefited personally a lot from going to your last State of the City address. I think it was a Chamber of Commerce deal. No, yours.
Mine? Okay.
And when you went through, and I thought you did a wonderful job of going through each department, head.
Yeah, that was right after my 5-year anniversary.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And what they brought to the table, and what I left there with was that, yes, there are a lot of people, but there are a lot of moving parts in 100%. Our city. And I noticed that because I know a lot of these people, whether it's Allison Lacey or whoever, and I'm just going, hey, this thing is big. And there are a lot of people, and most of them wore multiple hats. Right. They weren't just, he's the director of X. Right there's actually Strevel checking in. And by the way, he says all master plans are publicly available. You can go to victoriatexas.gov/750/master plans. A very transparent administration.
100%. 100%. And I know that people, rightfully so, ask questions about, how we're structured in my office or just the organization. But to your point, we're a full service city, and not every city runs their own utility. We do. Not every city owns their landfill. We do. Not every city picks up their own trash. We do. Not every city gets involved with economic development. We are. Not every city has a convention visitors bureau within the city. We do. I mean, we are truly a full service city. We have almost 18 different departments. Our budget's $242 million now.
And so I was going to ask you what that number is.
And so it is a lot of different moving parts, and it necessitates coordination. If we really want to have everybody flowing in the same direction, it necessitates some mentorship. It necessitates collaboration amongst the different departments. And we have an amazing executive team. I obviously made that point when I made that presentation a couple of years ago, but we truly do. And at the end of the day, one of my primary responsibilities is to make sure that the right people are on the bus.
That's right.
When you have the right people on the bus, everything flows in the right direction. And so the challenge for me is making sure that those people stay on the bus. And when somebody has to move on, we need to make sure we bring in the right person, right?
Well, you've got some great people. They're our neighbors. They're our friends. We go to church with them. I mean, there's some great people occasionally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Doesn't show.
Right? Doesn't show. Nice. That's fair. Anyway. Well,
kudos to the executive team. We're blessed to have them, and
amen. We were blessed to have you on here today, sir. We appreciate you taking time out of what I know is your busy day. I'll give you a screen that allows you just to smoothly exit
okay.
stage
cool.
left. But hey, we really, really appreciate it. And it's easy for me to say, but I think you should do this more often. I think our people are interested
Yeah,
in
I'd
what
love
you
to.
have to say. They need to understand how their city
Yeah.
works. And
Well, and now that my office is fully staffed, my intention is to once again kind of become more visible and out there. Unfortunately, we've been one person down in my office for almost a year, and so
you've had to work.
that's forced us to prioritize and focus on the day to day. But I recognize that a big part of my job is to obviously be visible,
Sell the city, right?
establish relationships, and hopefully continue to build on that rapport and that trust. So,
Cody, do you see how unflappable this man is? Like you try to hit him with like a little zinger. There's not even a twitch in his eye or anything.
He doesn't twitch.
He doesn't twitch. He's right. Tell me this. This is just a personal aside. What do you make big picture? Just your quick overview of the expanding of San Antonio's downtown and this Project Marvel and all that. Was that in the works way back when you were a part of the city?
no.
Okay. What do
Yeah.
you think about that? They're spending billions of dollars betting on the come to me.
Yeah, I'm not too intimately familiar with the details of the project, and so I just know what I read online and what I see.
So it's probably the information's probably
but I'm
flawed.
I'm certainly a big Spurs fan, and I'm all in and supporting the Spurs. I'm all in and trying to find ways to provide them, a venue and in a location within our community that
Yes, sir.
that really helps generate more buzz and just draws more people. So I'm all about that.
High tech. I mean, it looks like it's going to be awesome. It's got, to me, it's almost got like a Las Vegas flair to it. Like there's an area down there and you can just live and work and walk around.
But and San Antonio is a good example of just what we were talking about earlier about downtown, because historically San Antonio downtown was always thought of as just for visitors. And they ran into issues of, well, there's no grocery store downtown. How are we going to get more people living downtown? And so just because a city's bigger doesn't mean that they have it all figured out. San Antonio also went through their growing pains to try and get more people living downtown. And so we can look at those examples and what can we take from those?
Well, then think about it, because San Antonio is the home of HEB, which is the largest grocery store in the state.
And then they were the ones that ended up adding a grocery store downtown.
Genius.
Yeah.
They reimagined it. They have a store over in the Heights that there's an apartment complex on top of an HEB. It's a 2-story HEB, takes up an entire city block. You can pull into the parking garage. You can also, on one end, go up to the multi-level parking garage for the apartments that are on top. And Kendall used to live there. My oldest daughter used to live there. And she said, hey, Dad, got to run downstairs to get some cilantro. And she could literally get in her apartment elevator and come out in HEB.
Nice.
So, I mean, they rethought, and they had to get variances from the city of Houston to build a 2-story grocery store because they have conveyors and escalators that make things
Austin
happen.
has a 2-story HEB too with the escalators for your carts and everything.
Oh,
it's pretty cool.
Awesomeness. Well, sir, we really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for
very
having
much,
me. And I encourage the public to visit our website. We have all of our tax rate and budget information out there. And so over the next 2 months, we'll be having a slew of different public hearings and opportunities for the public to come and voice their opinion on the tax rate or the budget overall. And so I just encourage individuals to visit our website, victoriatx.gov, and access all of that.
I have, I'm a fan. I think you do a great job. That's not the point. I want to emphasize that I know of no other community from Lois Colkhorst to AJ Louderback to Mayor Crocker to Judge Zeller to the city attorney Allison Lacey to you and everybody in your office. There is no easier access of elected and city and county officials than Victoria County, Texas. And I know it's an attitude. I mean, you've always come in here and been willing to face any heat, and it permeates your entire organization, and leadership starts at the top. And I tip my cap to you today. And thank you for having the chutzpah to say, hey, ask me whatever you want.
Yeah.
So we appreciate
No,
you.
thank you so much.
I'm going to take a last
All right,
break.
sounds good.
Folks, that's Jesus Garza, our city manager, doing a fantastic job. It's tough. He's a juggler. There's a lot going on, whether it's money or situations. It's not as easy as just making the call. So
He got that wallet back in his pocket
he
by
did.
himself.
Yeah, well, that's how it is, right? It's like gas prices go up quick and come down slow. Wallets come out slow and go back in quick. Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. Get in this weekend and enjoy some Palace Bingo. Get over there and play games and support 7 local charities. You'll be thrilled. Chesnick Furniture, Chesnick and Love make your house a home right here in downtown Victoria for over 100 years. Chesnick Furniture is your place to find out that Chesnick and Love make your house a home. Get by and see why you just always do better at Chesnick. Oh, he left his backup wallet. He had to come back. White Wing Materials, Clayton Helt and his group, providing you with sand, gravel, aggregate, topsoil, fill dirt, 920 sand. Don't put that project off any longer. Reach out to White Wing Materials. Folks, as always, we are blessed to be in the Atzenhofer studio here at the offices at 205. James Geets and John Paul Hull, extremely benevolent. They see a value in the format. Commander Cody at the helm today. Thank you for all Brand Us does for us. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. It's the top of the hour, and we apologize for some of the technical difficulties. Not all of them, but we apologize for some of them. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you Monday. Bye, folks.